Good afternoon, Cloud Native community, and welcome back to KubeCon here in London, England. My name is Savannah Peterson. Delighted and privileged to be bringing you the fantastic stories from the show floor all week with Rob Strechay. Rob, this has been a bit of a marathon today. You're holding strong.
It has been great. I think, again, I'm getting my energy from the guests and all of the really fascinating and interesting improvements that have gone on within the Kubernetes community, if I can get those words out.
You got it.
I got it.
I believe in you.
And I'm excited for this next one and to see where this is going. So
I am too. I think we're both going to get to learn a lot.
I think so.
Without further ado, I would love to welcome Madelyn Olson and Ricardo Diaz. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's a busy week. We're losing our voices. Everyone's holding strong. So we'll be gentle, but I promise we'll have a lot of fun. Madelyn, I'm going to start with you. Take us from the beginning. Let's talk about Valkey, how we got here. Let's get the audience up to speed.
Of course. So the origination of Valkey actually starts back with the story of Redis open source. So Redis open source, a very popular key value database used for caching, session storage, all sorts of real-time applications. So almost a year ago, Redis decided that they were going to take the licensing in a different direction. It was open source. They decided to move to a more proprietary license. And so I got together with other members of the community, and we basically went and created Valkey. So some people think that Redis was mostly built by the Redis company, but there's actually a pretty strong, vibrant open source community around the project. So I was a maintainer of Redis open source, as well as another engineer from Alibaba named Zhao. So we got together with other major contributors and created Valkey. In fact, Valkey just celebrated its 1-year birthday last Friday.
Happy birthday.
I know, it was very exciting, very fun.
Yeah.
I was actually at another conference and we had cupcakes. We even had cupcakes here yesterday.
I was just thinking we should have put a little candle and a cupcake for y'all.
Well, you know,
Next time.
Next time.
There's
always the second birthday.
I was just going to say, when we're in Amsterdam next year, we'll do that.
So yeah, so that, we've actually launched 2 versions since then, and we're an open source project. We don't need to launch at keynotes, but we always find it a good time to sort of, make stuff available to the community, get feedback, and KubeCon's such a great place for open source development, so we're here to talk about it.
I love that. Can't wait to hear more. How does Percona fit into this equation?
Yeah, well, as any other open source project, when companies want to adopt these softwares, they need support, right? And usually the community, it's only developing the product, it's not giving support. So Percona fits in this space where it provides support services for Valkey community version.
Nice. I can see why then you're sitting here together. This is perfect.
And you just had an announcement of the 8.1 release. Help us understand what that means, because you said you're on your first year,
yes.
But it's 8.1, so help people grok that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit, tongue-in-cheek. So we forked from the latest version of Redis open source, which is 7.2. So the typical traditional semantic versioning would be go back to 1 when we launch a new version, but instead we're like, no, we're moving forward with the community. So our first version
onwards,
was
I like that, yeah.
Onwards and upwards. So our first version was actually 8.0. We launched it last September, and the main focus of that release was performance and memory efficiency. Basically important things for a caching application, and this release, which just came out, kind of is built up on top of that. So we talk about stuff like memory efficiency improvements. So most caching workloads are bottlenecked on basically how much DRAM you have available for this, and so making the engine more efficient, you're able to store more data with less hardware. So really
Who doesn't want to do that, right?
Right.
Especially right now with the
getting more
explosion
with
of AI
less.
and data.
Oh,
yeah.
sure, yes.
Yeah.
So that was sort of one of the big half of the release. The other thing is we started moving more into adding new APIs. So our initial release was all core infrastructure improvements, but now that the community is a little bit more mature, we've kind of heard a little bit more from our community about what they're looking for. We actually added 3 new sets of API, so native JSON support, which is a very ubiquitous data storage format. Bloom filters, which we've heard a lot in the analytics space, as well as fraud detection, basically checking is this a fraudulent user? It's very memory efficient, as well as vector similarity search. So that's our third big release, and that's mostly targeting these AI workloads. So it would never be a complete KubeCon interview without talking about AI.
We haven't talked about it at all this week.
No.
Groundbreaking, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Talk about being onwards and upwards. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, no, I think again, when you look at it, and people have used Redis, like you said. I've used it in SaaS products that I've built and stuff like that. And when things have changed and licensing changes, that definitely goes. Have you seen that a lot of the community has come along with you for the ride on this as well, and are looking, and how big is the community that's working on Valkey now, and what are you trying to, who are you trying to attract in to help out with it as well?
Yeah, so right after the fork, we basically we have 6 different, so we have a technical steering committee, our governing board, and there were 6 different engineers from 6 companies. So we have AWS, where I'm from. We also had an engineer from Google. We had the same engineer I mentioned earlier from Alibaba, Tencent, Huawei, and Ericsson. So we actually have a very diverse group of maintainers.
Big brands that people
may
have heard of. Yeah,
because they're all very, invested in trying to make sure this. They were either users, or maybe they, had a managed offering for that for Redis. So they were all very invested. And obviously we have more individuals like Percona is being invested. We have Ivan's another big contributor. Snap's been a big contributor. So we actually have a pretty big community around the project right now. I think last time we checked, we have about 80 active contributors to our various projects. Yeah, it's actually a pretty big community because we have, we have clients, extensions, the core engine, and a lot of components around it.
So one of the things that I guess with the 8.1 release and was kind of the observability aspect of it and giving developers more insight into that, and can you talk to that and how that really has helped organizations going forward, or does it help on the support side? Is that, what? Well,
yeah, there are actually several improvements besides the performance, which is still a big focus on this release. We also have other features like observability improvements, which are really important for companies, for monitoring, to keep systems running. And there's a lot of improvements, both also in the clustering side for distributed deployments, and and this will be, I guess, the focus that we will keep going on next releases to increase the enterprise adoption of Valkey, which is something.
And maybe this is a silly question, but how do you go about that? Are those conversations easy? I mean, you come from enterprises, you come from the enterprise land, you're ex-enterprise land, but I guess we are kind of in this conversation in enterprise land now that I'm talking out loud and listening to my question. But I'm curious because it's got to be, this is newer, year-long project. Is it? Do you find there are open minds on the other side of that conversation, or is it a little bit of a dance to get that adoption?
No, I think you're pretty open.
I think people are very open, yeah. I think,
That's great to hear.
The first 6 months were definitely sort of like, no one knows what's going to happen, so there's a lot of hesitation. But I think, I think a lot of people now really believe, the project's going to work and there's more adoption, so I think a lot more people are willing to invest now than they were before. We have some internal metrics, like we keep track of how many Docker polls we have, which notoriously a bad metric, but it's like, we see this like exponential graph up, so we know like we're getting more and more, people are leaning more into it. And we've had a lot of conversations here on the floor of KubeCon, and a lot of people have told us, we're adopting it, we're interested in it, and they're giving a lot of great feedback.
That's got to be really nice to hear.
It's great to hear positive stories. There's nothing better to hear than, we moved to Valkey and we had no issues, and we saw 20% better improvement.
Our work here is done. That's great. Have there been any surprises in this first year that you weren't expecting?
Honestly, it's been a great first year. I feel like, I don't know if it could have gone much better than it has. Do you have anything?
I don't. I think the increase of the community, it has been remarkable.
It's like when you create a project, you kind of have to have some amount of like ego in you to be like, yes, we're doing the right thing, and then when it all works well,
blind faith,
right? Like it could have gone not so well, and that's just like no, like kind of everything we set out a very engineering focused roadmap. We kind of delivered on that, and people have been very receptive to it.
Yeah. So that actually you just hit on a fantastic next question I had anyways, which is roadmap. And when I look at it, having been a product manager and a head of product at some companies, when I look at this and go, especially with open source, it's about release cadences and things like that the community can absorb, the end user community can absorb. How have you structured your roadmap, and what are you looking for the next year as you look out into that from a roadmap perspective?
Yeah, so our current goal is to do a release every 6 months. So as I said, we've been about a year. This is our second release. And kind of looking forward, we're both trying to continue improving the core as well as adding more functionality around the core. Observability is a big thing. We were talking with Prometheus folks today.
Huge conversation.
It was great to meet some of the CNCF maintainers of the project here, because they have very strong opinions about what we should be doing and how we're doing it all wrong. I'm a lowly C developer. I don't know all this stuff super well. We also heard a lot of interest, like we have a Kubernetes operator. It's community built, and there's still a lot of love to be given to the that project. So we'll continue working on that as well. So there's a lot of those type of things we like to keep doing. As we said, we like always improve performance. And, as Ricardo was saying, improve observability, improve reliability.
Yeah.
Anything else you would like to chime in about?
Yeah, we also want to improve on the security part, integrating with the authentication systems, which are a pretty big deal for companies to deploy this system. And like all security stuff, like audits, logs, things like this that check the compliance stuff that companies require.
That really sexy stuff that ends up costing you a lot of money if you do it wrong.
Right, exactly.
So one other thing, because I'm going back to what you talked about with vector search and things like that, it would seem like because of the caching ability of it and the vector search ability, that this may play a nice role in things like inference as smaller language models are moved out to the edge and things like that. Do you foresee, is that like a use case that people have been coming to you with and saying, hey, we need, I'm not going to call it lightweight, but it's integrated vector search in here that can cache, because we need to push this out to, cell phone towers and mobile towers and stuff like that, because we want to get it closer, the inference closer to our customers. Is that anything that you've heard yet, or?
Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, obviously we're not trying to be a vector database like PG Vector or OpenSearch with vector similarity support. We're definitely going after something slightly different, which is the more high performance, low latency work, right? We keep the whole vector index in memory. So inference is one area, also stuff like semantic caching, right? So you have a query, you're like, is this semantically similar to a previous query? So you don't have to go back to the LLMs. So yeah, those types of things. On the edge is one place that we know a lot of people are running Valkey. So if they have those type of workloads that are running on the edge, it'd be another good place for it.
I wonder if when we have a chance to hang out in Amsterdam next year, if that'll be more of a conversation. If that activity on the edge will have bubbled up to the point of a little more saturation in terms of the audience. I'm curious. Yeah.
I'm curious as well. I've been hearing stuff on the edge for a long time, and I haven't seen much movement into the edge yet, but we'll see. I think a lot of the stuff still just kind of gets shipped back to the big data centers, and a lot of that, because LLMs are still slow. A lot of this inference work is very slow. So you really don't get a lot of benefit by keeping it to the edge. But as we said, as the models get more compact, more efficient, you're able to push them closer to the edge, like they will.
Yeah, where you have, again, just hearing the contributors, you got a wide range of contributors across the world from that, and especially on your steering committee. Have you heard, people have said, this is needed because exactly where you were going, kind of the model compaction aspect of it. When DeepSeek came out and everybody's like, okay, models like this, but there's a whole bunch of small language models that are out there now. And to your point on resources and efficiency and cost, people are trying to build things in a more, I would say, a direct way and more specific way so that they can know and get to an ROI. Are you hearing that? And that's part, again, I'm just wondering, because of where you guys sit and because it's such a high speed in memory, and to me that makes a lot of sense with a lot of that,
Yeah, so when you think about caching is, some people use caching for the reliability improvements to protect the backend database. People use it to accelerate operations, but most people are using it because it's the most efficient way to pull the data out and serve it to end users. So that's always sort of been the game that we're in. Even stuff like, I talk about how doing a query process can take longer than our entire end-to-end operations can, right? So we can't do any query processing. It has to be very efficient and very compact. So that is sort of the game we're in. And so, but the problem with a lot of this AI stuff that's going on is it's changing so rapidly, nobody's doing that optimization yet. At some point when we sort of slow down a little bit and kind of consolidate more on like, hey, this is like, what's like the sequel of AI effectively, then we'll start understanding more of like what should we be caching, in these places, and thinking more about resource and hardware utilization.
I think that's a really great point, and I'm glad you brought that up. We're all kind of moving around on this,
Yeah.
like, kind of like floating icebergs, trying to figure out what's going on and what's going to actually stick and be the clear path forward, and then really garner that larger investment in the space. So I think that's an awesome call out. I'm curious. I'd love for you both to answer this question. What would be your advice, or what would you tell someone who's now learning about Valkey, watching the show, and really wants to get involved or is curious to learn more? Ricardo, I'll start with you.
Well, just get from the Docker container and deploy it and check it out, because it's really easy to use, and as we said already, it's really fast. So it's so much easier.
I would assume there's a Slack channel too. That
of course.
That you have
there
as
is.
well.
There is. And yeah, people are there. We have people all over the world, so they can ask questions whenever, wherever they are, and get reply pretty timely, in the timely fashion. So.
Would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it's also that I actually like to say we have a very fun community. You might have noticed there's like a shield back there that was built by one of our contributors, and they
Casual.
Just casual. They're like, I want to make a shield, and I'm like, do it, please. We'll bring it and we'll show it everywhere at this conference.
I actually really love that, because I have to say, so I do a swag segment at the show. There's a lot of fun things on the show floor. I believe this is the first shield, especially the first handmade, proper wooden shield.
Yes, I would. For the ones I've been with you, it's the first. But I don't know that I've ever seen one at a show, even. Period. So.
Yeah, unless it was part of someone's costume, maybe.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe Vegas.
We've seen everything in Vegas.
Yeah, Caesars or something like that, but I don't know why I'm plugging them, but whatever. It's that time of day.
It's all right. It's all right, Rob.
Okay.
It's all right. Okay, and last question for you each. What do you hope to be able to say when we celebrate your 2-year milestone that we haven't been able to say today?
Well, I know.
You go first.
Maybe that our contributor community just doubled in the last year. I think that's really important for us, and also for enterprises. If we have a good contributor base, innovation and quality will be much improved. So, yeah.
Love that. What about you?
Mostly the same. I just hope our contributors are bigger, more people are using it, and everyone's just like, Valkey's the new de facto key value database.
I love this. Y'all are making it seem so easy. Ricardo, Madelyn, thank you. This has been such a joy. You made it easy for us too. Yes. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised your community is also reaping the benefits of that. Rob, this has been another joy-filled adventure.
Loved it.
Me too. I hope you all are enjoying this as much as we are here in London, England at KubeCon and CloudNativeCon. My name is Savannah Peterson. You're watching theCUBE, the leading source for enterprise tech news.